Hello, this is going to be my second entry in my little series that I'm making. So, the second entry, what I'd like to talk about, kind of have a little bit of jumbled up thoughts. A lot have happened today, so please forgive me. But what I would kind of like to talk about is the concept of Maya. So, the concept of Maya, first of all, it's a Sanskrit word which basically just means illusion. So, it's kind of said that the entire world is Maya. So, what does that mean to the average everyday person, or at least to me? Now, first and foremost, I am formally uneducated. I have an education up to high school, but I've spent my entire life, reading, thinking, I guess you could say philosophizing about weird little concepts and things like this. But anyway, so what does that mean to me at least? So, the concept of Maya is that the world is basically an illusion, that nothing is solid, first and foremost. So the physical world itself is an illusion, meaning that it's just a bunch of molecules and atoms basically put together that creates an image. Also, another way that it means is basically that light is taken in from the eyes. So, in a sense, we don't see reality for what it truly is. We just see a giant collage or mass of things that we identify or label, and then thus that gives the collective a sense of meaning or understanding. So human beings have a sense of self-awareness that is phenomenal. I believe it's the highest of most animals. So we are kind of outside the realm of, not say outside the realm of Mother Nature, but our way of thinking is kind of as if we're outside the realm of Mother Nature. So we're more so like a dualistic species by nature, period. Meaning that we have like a higher self, we have our thoughts, our everyday actions, all the things that we do, the personas that we put on, the jobs that we do, and we also have the animalistic self, the one that needs things in this world, like the one that needs sex, the one that needs to eat, the one that needs to basically live, and all of those other things. So, in a sense, we have a mix between habit and habitat to a degree. And what I mean basically by that is that the lower self of the animal self is basically built when you are a child. So when you're basically a kid, as you're growing up and everything, you're in a sense completely whole. Or like how the way I would like to go earlier when I said that everything is a bunch of molecules and things built up together to create the image that we see. Take that concept and basically apply it towards a personality to a degree, or at least the purity or freeness or pureness that a child would have. We kind of know as children what we like, what we would want to necessarily do, what we would, in a sense, our curiosity kind of governs us and allows us to do all kinds of different things. As we grown up, we're taught that all of those things do not matter. So when we're taught that they do not necessarily matter, we basically, in a sense, reconform everything of who we are, our just purpose period, to whatever our environment is. Our environment was the thing that tells us that things do not necessarily matter. You have to grow up, you have to make enough money, you have to work, you have to take care of bills, you have to do all of these things. Now I'm saying that nobody should live a work-free life, but it comes a time when we put so much emphasis on just survival that it gets to a point when life doesn't seem like it's worth surviving anymore. So going back to Maya, how the way all of these things actually blend in together is that this world being an illusion, it's already determined that we're going to die. The thing that I mean by that is that we put so much emphasis on trying to avoid that fact that we live our entire lives trying to avoid pain, which is a predecessor to the concept of death, potentially. We live our lives trying to avoid all kinds of negative feelings that remind us of that great thing that we don't know what it is, because it's all based out of a concept of fear. So, being in the world of Maya and everything like that, everything is built upon all of these different little things. And I kind of way I kind of look at it personally is something like you can look at all of these things similar to like vitamins, meaning that we all eat specific foods to get specific vitamins that our body necessarily needs. So by that thing, each though the food that we eat has specific characteristics or virtues to its actual identity. So it's more so it's like we need water. We drink water to stay hydrated. We need basically fiber and all of these things. So we eat plant life and all of this stuff. So all of these things has a specific purpose that we reconfigure what the purpose is to suit our needs. The world has a natural purpose that we're completely unaware of. So the reason that makes me think that is that first and foremost, the world is so chaotic that it's so chaotic and so coincidental that it does not seem like it's random. It would have all something would have happened already. And this is still a person that's that's uneducated speaking about these things, but it does seem like this is a giant testing ground. So going back to the concept of Maya, based on your perspective, reality can be somewhat moldable, meaning that you can have an emotion that makes you feel something, that makes you perceive the world in one way. You can change that emotion or change that thought, and then you can perceive the world in a completely different way, thus opening new possibilities and even new concepts to your actual self-awareness. I believe that's what one of the concepts of growth is. So in the world of Maya or identity, where basically everything basically is trapped in an ever-ending cycle, which I believe is known as samsara. So in this never-ending cycle, they always refer to a cycle as suffering. But why is it suffering? I believe it's suffering because of the human brain and what it has the capabilities of doing. The human brain cannot distinguish emotional threats, mental threats, physical threats, all of reality from itself. So meaning that the feeling of being hungry and not getting food can equate to the feeling of dread of you actually getting ready to die. The human brain will confuse both of these signals, and it just gives you a signal to just so you can avoid that thing. So it's built on, first and foremost, it's built on survival so it can actually move. So in Maya, as we're in this world, we don't have a choice to be born. We're kind of just shoved in here based on a feeling that our parents necessarily have and them doing the bonding ritual of sex. So as we're necessarily born into this world, you can kind of say we start off as, in a sense, as an energetic feeling to a degree. So, hear me out. So, your father had to procreate with your mom, but he had to attract your mom. So, in order for him to attract your mom, at least, hopefully, this is just the right way it's done. I know there are horrible things in the world, but back to what I was saying. In order for him to attract your mom, there must have been something that she deemed as something that he had that made her like him or feel worthy of having sex. So she was turned on. She was turned on by some degree. So therefore, in order for that to happen, there must have been something that your father inherited or embodied within his personality, whether that could have been his worldview, a feeling, a motion, something like that. That thing stayed into his brain and, in a sense, gave him enough confidence or enough feeling to create a personality for himself. When he created this personality for himself based on all the things that he has experienced and happened to him, based on what he's accomplished with that personality, in a sense, attracts a mate. So when he attracted his mate, in a sense, he transferred that feeling into her body, so it becomes an energetic feeling fused with actual physical matter through the mother. So one thing that I wanted to kind of reestablish by kind of talking about all these things is that a lot of people are very nihilistic when the world itself is so fucking magical when you sit there and really change your perspective of what it is. So based on what I just kind of said, you originally can start as a fucking feeling, and then you can come into this world, or an instinct or an impulse, and then be born into this world through your father and mother. So it's like you're your father's spirit or ideals clothed with your mother's matter or her body. So it's very beautiful when you think about these things, and it gives everything a sense of reverence. But it makes me go back and think that instincts are passed down. So in order for us to actually understand, concepts of maternity and things like that, especially especially when going back, especially when we're animals coming out of an animalistic nature, we had to kind of teach and pass that down. So at some point of time, animals don't have the ability to self-reflect the way we do. Meaning, I believe that we have two brain hemispheres because we take in the information from the outside world, and then we process it inside the inside world, and then we make a choice necessarily. So in a sense, we kind of have the ability to reflect ourselves out of the drive of Mother Nature, of being completely in tune with yourself, that you don't have no sense of other reality, that the only thing that can kind of gratify you is a sense of your urges. It's kind of like being high and eating, or having sex for the first time, and you kind of lose yourself in that feeling. I believe that animals kind of move around like that, period. They lack the sense of self-awareness, and they basically only function off of their emotions and instincts. So it's more so, instead of basically focus things on their external world or their outside world, they're more focused on their internal needs rather than going about changing the world for their internal needs. Not to say that human beings aren't. Yeah, human beings are more animalistic than humans, more animalistic than animals, if you ask me. The reason why is because we can find abstract concepts for our barbaricism, whereas animals have the ability of just doing it solely for their survival. It is things of animal cruelty inside the animal kingdom where they genuinely do cruel acts towards each other, but not so much, and not so much freely, and not so much with so much self-awareness as a human being would have. So one thing that I realize about basically Maya is that once we're in here, our brain is adapted to survival. So if our brain is necessarily adapted to survival, we come in with an animalistic being. And I believe or unified. I believe that's what children are again. I know I keep going back and forth. But them growing up, that consciousness becomes split between love and fear, or duality. So I like to look at it through an astrological terms, meaning like your sun and your moon. So not really as in sun and moon, how the way astrology viewers would view a astrological chart, but more so the concepts of perspective. So the sun would be the external world, and basically identity, whole thinking, and going about your day. The moon would be basically what would happen when you focus too much on your emotions in your internal world. So I like to look at it as light and darkness. So when you're operating from a sun type of energy, you're just walking around, you're just completing your day, doing things, you're focused on what you can change or what you can manipulate in the actual physical world. That's your primary focus. So it'll be future oriented. It will be basically things that are akin to your identity. It will be basically going around and just doing your basic everyday things. So it'll be considered a masculine energy, or an outward energy. So if you look at basically our genitals from masculine and feminine, one shoots out and one takes in. So I look at masculine energy as the concept of anything that radiates, shoots out, protrudes, pierces, or produces. As feminine energy will be something that basically smothers, sorry, my light went out. So when I was talking about feminine energy. A feminine energy will be considered of necessarily darkness. I believe this is why a lot of necessarily certain religions or certain people try to use religions to paint women as in a sense of evil because of that esoteric concept. They take darkness as the concept of evil because it represents the unknown. So the unknown and everything like that produces the greatest amount of fear because at some point of time we learn to survive by watching other people die in a sense. So when we come to the world and we don't know anything about this world and we're basically trying to go around figure things out, we're living in a state of ignorance to where we can't even use our natural senses to determine what we're supposed to use because we're not in tune with nature. So we don't have the knowledge of good and evil, meaning we don't have the knowledge of experience that can necessarily give us that. The first humans had to experience all of these things and then they had to pass that down to us, either through history, genetics, or just some weird cosmic bullshit that we don't understand yet. But as we're basically going about and we're learning about the world and people are necessarily dying, we start to fear the unknown and the things that we don't know. It doesn't mean that it's evil, but it's basically our perspective is so survival and fear based that we won't even take a chance anymore. So how does that carry on today? It carries on today because now we're in this world that we're already going to die in, and we're literally living to try to survive when there are so many different forces that are literally trying to make us not survive. And the whole concept of why they can do that is because we're so focused on living and trying to have a comfort and a conflict free life, when it's funny when all of the things that we basically look at are all the things that are conflict. We just don't have the balls to do it ourselves. So I'm not trying to tell people to do certain things or do this, but I'm just trying to vent my own personal perspective, because in today's world you have so many people that don't either have their own perspective of things or don't even care enough to even talk about it. Everything is so survival based, status based. Everybody does not worry about their own virtue that they can offer. And their own virtue is not necessarily something that just means, you're good, you're virtuous, you have great characteristics. Your own virtue means that your own personal intrinsic thing that has developed from the accumulation of all of the dead things of your lineage into you. So meaning that it is your raw true self as a child. Meaning everything has a sense of purpose or a function in this world. That's how this world is actually built. It's so chaotic because we cannot see the underlying minute things because they are so fine. You would have to be some type of god in order to realize that. So we just base everything on basically what we see all around us, when you have to realize it's like we're the animal that can perceive the world so well enough and can perceive things so, I would say, finite and in a sense balanced, because the world is so chaotic. It's like we would have been wiped out by an asteroid by now, even though these things have happened. It's like something would have happened to where life would not be able to happen on any other planet, period. There has to be some type of architect, creator, or mad entity. Like I don't even have human words to describe what this thing is, so we can just call it God. There has to be something like that governs this world, or at least it created everything, and we're supposed to be the thing that governs this world, at least to a degree of we govern ourselves so we don't destroy the world, meaning that we're not the gods of these world, we're the gods of ourselves. So being brought into Maya again, we're brought into this world of illusion, to where whatever we are, our spirit soul is encased in matter, or literally earth, or physicality, or reality itself. So by that means, the laws that govern nature to a degree, they also govern us. There are so many laws that govern nature that we do not understand, that there are laws that even could potentially govern personality and behavior that govern us as well. Like there's one thing, everything in this world transforms in some degree. So if you look at basically when I told you about your parents and everything like that, those were two people that formed together and conjoined as one, and you are the product of that, or the offspring. Hence the word offspring. You literally just sprung off of two different forces. So, being that and everything seems to be ran on a dualistic way of thinking, or dualistic way of being, which meaning that everything is basically in pairs in this world. It's like everything is zero ones, masculine, feminine, good, bad, evil, dark. But the thing is to not get caught in the concept of blind morality, meaning that it's not to ignore things that we know are good and bad, but it's for us to decide what those things truthfully are. Because right now, for what I see a lot of animalistic behavior of just basically following something that we think will give us our own survival rather than believing in the own qualities and traits that we have. Each one of us has so much power as an individual or as a thing. Like, it's crazy. The reason what makes me think that is that somebody can enter somewhere with a gun and literally shoot down a whole bunch of people, up to 200 if they have enough time. So we have that much ability to end that life. One man can impregnate that many women as well. We have so much great potential with all the things that we do, is that we don't take responsibility for all of the negative that comes with that. We give that offshoot to some type of God. And really, it's like, put yourself in God's shoes. It's like, would you genuinely care about this species that continuously destroys everything, is so grandiose, does not think about anybody else but itself, and the only excuse it uses is that I'm only human? But you all have the abilities to literally create weapons of mass destruction. Like, that's not an excuse anymore. If you have godlike capabilities, you need to have godlike ways of thinking, or at least a godlike compassion, first and foremost. We are so unempathetic, and we're trying to say that's the root of all evils, because the more separated we are, the more other people that understand animalistic behavior can take advantage of everything that we do, because basically we're only focused on survival. So if we create the habitat and we make that small enough that certain people can literally predict what was going on, then all of our behavior can be predicted, controlled, and ultimately used against us for our own destruction at some point in time. And you have to also remember this: there are people that live in this world that have no focus on survival, that they are not attached to Maya the way that the average everyday person is. Meaning, there are people that literally enter this world and they play the world like a video game. Believe it or not, like I see it every day with all of the people that are in politics that are doing all of this madness and calling it Christ. Like, it's disgusting. Like, one thing that I realize about a lot of biblical scriptures is that the end of the world is talking about them and the blind people that will literally worship a book rather than the godlike intrinsic nature of their own goodness and compassion. So literally it's like this: I can just write a book and I can just kill all of your ancestors and teach you these things, all of the negative things in life, and just basically have you in a fear-based mindset of just thinking. So from what I would say is, like, a supreme creator, they wouldn't do this. They would put these things in your absolute genetics, and they would basically have it so that this will always rise on top at some point of time. So from what I've seen now with my experience, and I'm just an average everyday person that just makes these things, so I'm not trying to yell at anybody. I'm ultimately just using this as some type of diary to just keep my thoughts. So from what I've seen is that because we have attachment to an illusory world, and I'm probably pronouncing these things wrong, we have an attachment to the world of illusion. So we are trying to stay here when in reality we're going to die, either by old age, some type of weird thing. We don't want to be here with all of the changes that consistently are always happening with this world. And I'm not vowing for anyone to have mass suicide or anything like this, but look how much evil, or if you flip the word evil around, the word evil is live, meaning that all of the things that this world does is out of sense of extremity and ignorance and a lack of self-awareness to realize that one, we're going to die anyway. Two, there are always other methods of doing those things if we put enough necessity onto it. Three, this world is built upon one, we're experiencing a reality based on the cells, molecules, and atoms that we have. So I doubt our cells, molecules, and atoms know that we exist as they're doing whatever they do in that type of world to give rise to us. Who isn't to say that there are things that we believe thus give birth to in another realm, and we become the atoms, molecules, and cells that give birth to that? So in a sense, we're supposed to be the thing that has free will to be able to literally, even if we have no ability of understanding what a higher being or a higher God is, we have free will to do as much good as we possibly can in the highest order to create whatever God that whatever realm that would be in that world. We're literally venerating evil, or basically worshiping something through our actions rather than what we believe. The word worship is brought off the word wardship, which is another word for saying slavery, which is anti-Christian because it's not free will. Slavery is not free will to God. So God would like you to necessarily branch away from him and then come back to him at some point, because then you're not worshiping him out of fear, meaning that you are genuinely worshiping God in the highest way you can know how. Your free will, your love. It's more so it's like this. You would want a wife that is crazy about you because of attraction and loyalty, not a wife that's necessarily with you because of fear, because the moment somebody offers her something better, she's going to leave you. You know, that's another story that's been in the Bible when it talks about. It's basically, just going to all kinds of different gods because they offer you some type of salvation and not even questioning what those things are. So again, being in the world of Maya, we are a core thing in a body that's not really ours, that is ours at the same time. So it's more so we are a spirit possessing an animal to a degree, causing it to have self-awareness, evolve, and play this game. So we're dualistic. So it's like taking care of your body is the most important thing, is because it's not just us that your body is here with, if you really think about it. It's all of the forces of nature that are within you. You are the self-awareness of your body, from what I truthfully believe. Being the self-awareness of your body and everything like that, you shouldn't be governed by lesser emotions that are based solely on the survival of what you are. You should be basing yourself off of the concepts and the things that govern you as a person, because you as a person modify your body. You know, when you want to get fit, you work out, you stop eating all kinds of crap so you can actually look nice and, be healthy. When you want to basically do all kinds of things, you basically think about those things before you do them. And when you want to bring something into this world, you think about it, have an emotional response, and then have an action that brings that into this world. So it's more so it's like, we are the thing that regulates that force on earth by what we are as God itself. So the things that we're doing, living out of fear, we're just worshiping an abstract concept of God that has been taught to us by other people, and more so people who are solely based on controlling others and slave morality, and literally they look at all of life as just a thing, when all of this is supposed to be God's garden, and these things are his creation, just the lesser form of his creation, meaning that everything here is powerful. So if it's powerful, it has the ability to influence you and has the ability to control you, meaning your own body and your own fears, your own thoughts, your own perceptions have the ability to make you into the monster that you are running from, or you're calling the devil, because the only thing the devil is just to live backwards, meaning that it's the things that already was here that we embody and we continue to do towards one another in the sake of principle and it's right. When Jesus Christ said that Satan is the god of this, or Jesus Christ said that Lucifer is the god of principle and principalities, and we worship a whole less of Jesus and a whole lot of Satan, and then we're kind of proud of it. So Jesus was the sense of individuality to a degree, or meaning knowing that he is separate from God, and knowing that he's separate from God makes him chase or look for God, or at least that's what we're supposed to do. But from what I've seen, we're separate from God and we just worship animalistic behaviors of survival. And that's all we do 24/7. And we literally create hell on earth. So you really think that when this cocoon dies or when this shell is cast and our awareness goes into another world, if that is basically when all religions say that's kind of what happens to a degree, in a very vague sense, the more vague something is, the more possibilities are contained within it, based on your perception as a person of what you can take out of it. When we go into that, we're creating a literal hell that we're going to just be into, and then be thrown right back into this world as God knows what. So, illusions can make you do a whole lot of things. Perceptions can make you do a whole lot of things. And they can make us commit some of the most evil acts known to man. But most importantly, they can make us sit idle with having the fear of death while all of these evil things just commit. We all know right from wrong. So I can assure you, you can either read your book and read whatever some man can put inside of the book, knowing that there is a book that comes before that has a whole lot of different information. You can go back to the source, the earliest ways of what these things believe, or you can just continue to look at things based on your own fear of you're not capable of existing in this world and you're scared of death, so you need some type of daddy to actually take care of you, which is the reason why I believe Donald Trump and so many of these types of people get all of these votes, is because you have a whole section of men that are literally children because they are consumed by fear, so they have no sense of virtue. They have no sense of something intrinsically towards themselves that nobody else has. They forgave that because the devil or the lived or the past or the ones that came before them basically told them that these things are not what matters. The only thing that matters in this world is survival. So they just adopted the dead and they just wore the flesh of what came before them. So it's like we just do these things over and over again, and we wonder why the world continues to have these same struggles. It's always the same thing. It's always the same stories in Greek mythology with, Saturn and Uranus or Kronos literally devouring their kids. It's literally the old with their older states of mind devouring the young, when in contrast they literally need us. And the root of all evil is the fact that they refuse to accept their own personal fear of death. If they cared about this God so much, then they would be wanting to do the right things to prepare themselves to meet this thing. It's not even to say that this religion is false or these things are false. Is to tell you is that these people are so inauthentic, they don't even embody the things that they claim that they believe. So I'm telling you, these people are devil incarnate, meaning these people are the lived. These are the older people that have successfully conned and literally drained the blood of every single thing that they come in contact. And more so what it is it's a state of mind that comes with this. It's more so the world runs on script. Maya runs on algorithm, just like computer. So it's like it runs on patterns. It's like the things that you focus on doing so much, you do these things over and over again. It's like your brain can't break that habit. That habit becomes the habitat for which you, or the fear-based animal inside of your mind that is so scared of death, consistently does these patterns of behavior to absolve yourself of this feeling. So it's more so it's like the thing that they do to absolve themselves of the feeling of the fear of death is they dominate other people, their wives, children, all of this stuff. That's why they have so much weird sexual perversion in all of the things that they do. So that's the entry for Maya. So I'm going to probably try to do an entry at night. So thank you guys. Have a good night.